Here's where we have to ask the age-old question. Am I doing this just because I'm too lazy to line the skirt? Maybe. Good day, friends. I'm making a late Victorian, early Edwardian petticoat. I thought I was going to make my very own ubiquitous walking skirt, but when I started looking at the directions from Truly Victorian and comparing them to everyone else's walking skirt videos, I was struck by a really strange difference. Truly Victorian flatlines their walking skirt while most costuming vloggers don't, or at least they don't seem to. I'm not going to lie, not having to flatline and pad stitch numerous large panels of fabric is a bonus. The drawback is having to print out and tape together yet another 2 sheets of petticoat patterns. But that's okay. Past Mare has already taken care of that. Using a cheap $5 artist light box I bought off Wish a few years back helped speed up the process because it took almost as much time to tape the patterns together as it did to sew an entire garment. I'm not even kidding. I spent a good 2 weeks taping things together and had to run out to the dollar store for more supplies. Another bonus? The petticoat takes less fabric than the walking skirt lining, so I'm just repurposing cotton that I'd already picked up and pre-washed. So we're ready to get cracking. Skirt and petticoats are not small garments, so I tried to spread things out on the floor and lay the pattern out that way. Not a good idea. The floor troll life is not the life for me. Eventually I gave up, threw an extra leaf in the kitchen table, and cut things out there. I was a little worried about making a black petticoat. I think I figured that because the other underpinnings are white, the black would be a problem. I can't remember where I saw it, whether it was a comment on someone's video or something I read elsewhere, but someone noted that a black petticoat would be more flexible than white. I expect that white would have been just fine, though I have a feeling I'd be using more bleach than makes me comfortable. Anytime I use this stuff, it always winds up dripping on dark-colored clothing, which angers and confuses the aging goth in me. I use Woolite for dark clothes for a reason, people. It was as I started sewing that I realized wearing black while sewing a black garment was probably not my wisest choice. Cameras don't seem to like black very much. It's like they go into some sort of existential spiral in which they lose focus as they try to grasp something, anything that's well lit within the abyss. Or maybe that's just me. Here's the thing. I had 3 projects that needed starting, and one of the things that almost always slows me down is the stop-start of editing. So I decided to cut out and work on all 3 garments rather than stopping in between each to edit a video. Which means I'm hopefully working a little ahead of my release schedule by the time you see this video. It also means you now know that there's a walking skirt video coming sometime in the future. It probably shouldn't surprise you, everyone seems to have one these days. Honestly, I think I need to drop all pretense that I'm making garments to suit my whim and just own up to the fact that I know that you know that I need a skirt and a top and just be done with it.
How are you? Perry Mason.
I'm not sorry to be making a petticoat. I knew I'd have to make one eventually, so I'd already purchased the pattern. This just stepped up the process. I actually thought that I could get away with not making a petticoat, but Rebecca of Lady Rebecca Fashions reminded me that it was essential and that no, one would not just make do with one's overly floofy drawers. While the stubborn side of me wants to smile sweetly and say, "You aren't the boss of me?" She's right. You win this one, Rebecca. I have a thought in the back of my head that if I can thrift some old flannel sheets or pick up fabric on discount, I might make a winter petticoat as well. I generally spend my colder months shivering in the basement wrapped in fleece blankies, so why not just go all Morgan Donner with the warm winter layers? The next step is to pin the flounces to the main body of the petticoat, then gather to fit. I ran the gathering stitches on the flounces, but honestly, right now I feel a bit more inclined to finish the waist of the thing first, so I'm not dealing with a ton of weight from extra fabric when I'm trying to maneuver the waistband around. So sewing in the gathering stitches on the back panels of the skirt. Probably best to do that while my machine is still set for the longer stitch length anyhow. I was worried about the fit due to gaining and losing weight and considered running some elastic into the waistband. Luckily, the waist is constructed more like yoga pants. You run a drawstring through the waistband, so slightly adjustable. Before I get tons of comments from viewers chastising me for my historical inaccuracy and reminding me that elasticized gathers would cause bulk at the waist, the drawstring method would already cause some extra volume, so I wouldn't be worried. Women wear fully elasticized waistbands these days in an age where there's an unnatural obsession with looking as thin as possible without any kind of structural undergarment. And nobody gives a rip. So why get bent about something that will likely just get flattened by a jacket or a waistcoat, or concealed by a shirtwaist, or floofed up with hip and butt padding? I'll worry about it if it requires concern. Unlike my great-great-grandmother, I'm not married to a harness maker, and I live in the time of Lycra. I'm fine with barely historically accurate. Victorians and Edwardians took shortcuts, because they were people, and, with notable exceptions, people often have better things to do with their time than get precious over little details. I just don't want to get this outfit finished, only to have to remake all my garments, if you know what I mean. And then I became stuck in tucking hell. No, that's not autocorrect getting all cheeky with my script. Seriously, I was the fool who decided to put the tucks in this skirt. There aren't a lot of them. They're just really long. Long enough that after about 3 hours of fiddling with them and only getting half done, I said, "Screw this!" and went and played Final Fantasy XIV for a few hours. I finished the tucks. Are they perfect? No. Do I particularly care? No. I'm the only one who's going to see them, and I think they do just fine for a first effort. If I thought super long pin tucks were hell, how about one really long ruffle? This lovely swag of fabric is what's left of a bed skirt that I thought would make a lovely petticoat, until I realized everything but the ruffle was some sort of cheap lab-created substance that barely classifies as a solid, let alone material. It's about a foot short of the actual ruffle length as detailed in the pattern, but I've been assured by other sewists that this is fine. My ruffle will just be only slightly less gathered than detailed in the pattern, and I'm okay with that. I ran the gathering stitches in quarters to minimize the chances of the thread breaking. It also meant I could put the skirt into timeout if necessary, because I worked on the ruffle a solid 8 to 10 hours before putting it temporarily back in the penalty box.
You do that, you go to the box, 2 minutes by yourself, and you feel shame,
Seriously, that skirt's gone into timeout more often than the Charlestown Chiefs. Someday I'll run those gathering stitches close enough to the cut edge to hide them in the seam. Today is not that day. as you can see, my petticoat adventures turned out just fine. I actually really quite like this, and I love the fact that I have a kind of gothy petticoat underneath my skirts. Now I just need to make the skirt. Till then.